We've got two speakers today from Local First Arizona. Um, we're very fortunate to have a group like Local First here in the community and other communities. It's Local First is probably one of the leading regional business groups in the country, and it works to promote strong, inclusive, and sustainable local economies. Um, I don't see if, I don't think, I'm not sure if there's Kimber. Great. What we're going to do today is we're going to have Kimber kind of give us an overview of Local First, and then we'll take a 5-minute break, and then we're going to have Kelly focus more on the sustainability initiatives that the group is working on. So let me introduce Kimber. Kimber Lanning is an entrepreneur, business leader, and community development specialist who works to cultivate self-reliant communities and inspire a higher quality of life for people across Arizona. Kimber is the founder and executive director of Local First Arizona Foundation, a statewide organization focused on building sustainable and resilient local economies in the state. She's the founder of Local First Arizona, the largest advocacy organization for independently owned businesses in North America. She received numerous awards for her diverse work and extensive leadership, and speaks regularly around the country, even on Saturdays. And her work in promoting adaptive reuse in Phoenix urban core was recognized by the American Planning Association, who presented Kimber with a Distinguished Citizen Planner Award in 2013. And she's also been named one of the 50 most influential women in Arizona by Arizona Business Magazine in 2011. So I'm going to turn things over to Kimber. Kimber, do you have a PowerPoint? Do we need to share?
I do, Kevin. Thank you for the kind introduction, and nice to be here with you all. If you could enable me to share the screen, that would be fantastic.
I think that'll be Trace to do that, and he'll let you know when that's accomplished.
Okay.
And just to know, Kimber, I'll be a clock watcher since we're on a crisp schedule this morning.
Great. I like that. Tell me how long you would like me to speak.
Well, if you could just talk at this point for 20 minutes and take question and answer for 10, would that work for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely, it does. Okay. Here we go. Thank you, Trace. So I'm going to, how's that look for everybody? Great.
Good.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for having me and my colleague Kelly here with you today. I'm going to, as Kevin mentioned, walk you through some of the background of Local First Arizona and a high-level overview. Could we start by just give me a show of hands? How many of you are already somewhat familiar with Local First Arizona? Okay. Okay. Maybe about a third of you. Wonderful. Okay, so we like to talk about Local First Arizona building resiliency. And resiliency is one of those words that we've landed on that makes people pause and think before they decide what we mean by resiliency. And what I mean by that is sometimes when we say sustainability, people immediately frame what they think that means. And resiliency, not so much, but resiliency certainly incorporates sustainability. And sustainability as we think about it as it pertains to the environment, but as well as the economy. So before I hand it over to Kelly, I'm going to talk a little bit more about economic resiliency and how that ties into sustainability. So we work statewide. In 2013, we merged with the Arizona Rural Development Council. So we're actually coming up on our 20-year anniversary. And then, so we formed in 2003. We became a nonprofit in 2009. And then we merged with the Arizona Rural Development Council in 2013. So we've been at this quite some time. We opened our first office in Tucson in 2008, and we've done quite a bit of work in Tucson and around the state. And so I like to start here with just reminding people that a good community ensures itself by trust and good faith and goodwill, and by mutual help. Really, what we're trying to do is build a community that feels accountable for itself. And to feel accountable, what we're talking about is a good community. In other words, a good local economy. And so I'm going to explain a little bit about how the economy actually works, which is different than what you may hear on the news, right? We turn on the news and we think that the economy is something someone else is going to fix for us. When in actuality, we're in a consumer-driven economy, and the choices we make actually impact the communities where we live and the people we live with in those communities. So our mission is to build equitable systems for Arizona's local businesses and communities. And so I really want to emphasize both. We work every day with local businesses, but local businesses shape our communities. They are connected in a way that you cannot separate the businesses from the community, okay? We're trying to create a vibrant, inclusive, and sustainable Arizona economy. And we do this by strengthening, supporting, and celebrating entrepreneurship, rural and urban community development, racial equity, environmental action, and food justice. And so this is an evolved mission. When we started this work, we were focused just on the economy. And today we recognize if we're going to move the needle on building an inclusive economy, we have to take a multi-pronged approach, looking at all these different ways that we have to lever in order to build an inclusive economy. So we believe that entrepreneurship is our strongest weapon to battle the racial wealth gap in America. And we have a vision that we want to build an economy where local businesses and communities are resilient and increasingly self-reliant. That means we have the ability in our community to grow the food we need to eat. We have the ability to create an economy in which everyone has the opportunity to participate. And we want it to be thriving and entrepreneurial and especially innovative with access to capital, and one that is environmentally regenerative. So why do we talk about localism? First and foremost, connection to place. I would argue that Tucson has more connection to place than anywhere else in Arizona. There's a lot of hometown pride in Tucson, and there's a lot of people who have chosen to make Tucson their home for a very long time. And thankfully, they feel accountable for it and very connected. But we know that's definitely not the case in a lot of communities. So I'm going to be talking about connection to place, jobs, economics, and then what do I mean by self-reliance? So I know Trace has heard this in the past, but I do like using this slide after all these years because it gets people thinking about connection to place. So how many of you know someone from Chicago that won't stop telling you how great Chicago is, right? we all know them. We have a lot of people who've moved to Arizona from Illinois, and they still tell us how great Chicago is. Now, arguably, Chicago has more hometown pride than any place else in the country. I joke, and the Cubs lost for 100 straight years and didn't lose a single fan. And meanwhile, the Diamondbacks have a bad inning, and we're like, nah, I don't know if I want to commit, And so they've got a lot of hometown pride. And this is a true story. When I started Local First all the way back in 2003, I was standing next to a woman, and she was telling me how great Chicago was. And I was kind of doing the little internal eye roll, heard it all before. And then she lowered her voice and leaned in sort of confidentially. And she said to me, boy, you guys sure have made a mess out here in Arizona. Well, now those are fighting words to me, right? At this point, I'm, bobbing and weaving. Like, you do not insult my state and say, we've got a problem. So I'm thinking about it. She's talking. She said, you guys sure have made a mess. And I said, you guys. And I said to her, you don't live here. And she said, no, I live here. I said, oh, you haven't lived here very long then? And she said, no, I lived here 15 years. I said, so who the hell is you guys? You live here now and you are one of us. What's it going to take to make you feel accountable for this place the way I feel accountable for it? So I started doing my little independent survey, and I asked everybody that I could find from Chicago, how many people, everybody that I could find that moved here from Chicago. I asked them one question. I asked them, tell me why you love Chicago so much. And every single one of them, without realizing it, they told me the locally owned businesses. They said, oh, I used to have my favorite cafe. I'd hop in and they'd yell, hey, Steve, you want the regular? They said things like, in Chicago, I had the same barber for 40 years and I move out here to Arizona and all you guys have is supercuts. And I'd be like, that is so unfair. Give me 20 minutes. I'll find you 20 barbers, right? But their perception was that they could only find the big box stores where they were a number and not a name. And therefore they did not feel connected. And the way that was impacting us here is they were not putting up roots here in Arizona, and that impacts us economically in a few different ways. And so this survey really uncovered how much people do care about the local businesses. And about this same time, luckily, the Knight Foundation, excuse me, the Knight Foundation did a wonderful study that I recommend called Soul of the Community. And they determined that when people are connected to their place, in fact, they are more likely to vote, to volunteer, to give charitably, and they're more likely to pay their taxes without complaining. This connection to place really does come down to how you are conducting business in your place. And that when you conduct commerce with people that you know, and you view businesses as families instead of commodity or just a money exchange, actually impacts the way you feel in the long run about your community. So in this slide, we're going to unpack how your dollars move through the economy. And a lot of people will take their Starbucks cup and quietly put it under the desk because they think I'm going to criticize Starbucks, but I'm not. I'm actually going to say Starbucks is the best chain store out there. That is my belief. I believe Starbucks is the best chain out there. So I'd like to hear from you. Unmute yourself for a second and tell me, why do you think Starbucks is the best chain store out there? Anybody?
Because they try and personalize their service to their customers.
Okay, they write your name on the cup, right?
Yeah.
You know your name. Yep. Okay.
It's
Anybody
a
else?
place where people can gather.
Okay.
They're
Those are
trying
good
to
reasons.
incorporate sustainability when we can argue about it, but they're at least trying to incorporate sustainability into their business model.
Right. Okay. Those are all excellent, excellent reasons. Those aren't my top two reasons. So I'm going to share my top two reasons with you. Number one, they pay for the healthcare of their employees. Now, a lot of people don't often think about this because it's out of sight, out of mind. But about 25 years ago, chain stores got together and they realized, wait a minute, if we just stop paying for the healthcare of our employees, we will have this enormous savings and we'll just pass that cost over onto the back of the state and the taxpayers, right? Walmart was the largest employer in the state of Arizona for 10 years. 83% of their employees had no healthcare benefits. So who was paying for the healthcare of their employees? We were, right? And this goes on and on and on. Starbucks doesn't do that. Starbucks actually pays for the healthcare of their employees. They show up and they do good business. And I thank them for that. They do a great job. The second reason that I think Starbucks is the best chain out there is because they're not in the business of subsidies. That means they don't come into Arizona and say, if we're going to open up a store, you have to pay us to be here. That's what a subsidy is. So how many of you are familiar with Cabela's? You know, Cabela's store out in Glendale? Okay. I see a couple of shaking of the heads. So Cabela's is like a outdoor sports recreation, fishing tackle, big store, kind of like a Bass Pro.
I grew up in Nebraska.
Okay, there you go.
So Cabela's is worshipped.
Yeah,
It started in Sydney, Nebraska, this little tiny rural town.
Yep.
So
Cabela's. Oh, go ahead.
I say same here. It said they were a model family firm until they decided to go big.
Yeah.
And not local.
Well, did you know that Cabela's claimed they were going to be the second largest tourist attraction in the state of Arizona after the Grand Canyon? That's what they claimed. And they came in and they demanded a subsidy. They said, if you want a Cabela's store in Arizona, it's going to cost you. And they played all the municipalities off each other, Peoria, Glendale, Phoenix, and they went around in a circle and they said, oh yeah, well, Peoria is going to give us this. And oh, well, Phoenix is going to give us this. And they ratcheted up their subsidy. So they got this from Walmart. Walmart invented the subsidy. Cabela's mastered it. So they averaged $35 million per store. Anybody want to guess what they got out of the city of Glendale?
Oh,
One retail store, they got $68 million. So now let's play this out in our minds. Okay, so they got free land, free infrastructure. That means the sidewalks, the roadways, the traffic signals, everything that was paid for. But they also got a 10-year sales tax abatement. Now, a sales tax abatement means you go in and you spend your money and you buy a new tent, you pay your sales tax. That is a social contract. That money is supposed to go to parks, libraries, pools, fire departments, things that benefit all of us in the community, that increase the quality of life in our community. No. You buy anything at Cabela's for 10 years, that sales tax went to their shareholders as part of their bottom line revenue. That was the deal Glendale made. So now let's look at this through a racialized lens. Okay, that money is supposed to go into communities to benefit everyone. 99.6% of Cabela's shareholders are white. So this is essentially extracting sales tax dollars from innocent shoppers to pad the bottom lines of shareholders. Okay, so there's a lot of shock, but this used to happen all the time. We were instrumental at Local First Arizona in putting through a new piece of legislation that stopped this kind of subsidy because it's just flat out wrong and it bankrupts our communities. So people just sit around and they scratch their heads, or maybe they get angry. Why is our library only open until 6 p.m. now? Well, I can tell you why. Because our municipalities were doing these deals over and over and over. In fact, it almost bankrupted the city of Glendale. Not this one deal, but because they did dozens of these deals. Okay, so back to the slide. Starbucks doesn't do that, and I say thank you. They show up like the rest of us and they just do business, okay? So now we got the best chain store out there. On the left side of the screen, we got 15 Starbucks logos representing 15 Starbucks locations right there in Tucson. On the other side of the screen, we got 15 independently owned coffee shops randomly selected from around Arizona. So now you go in and you buy your latte at Starbucks. They have the cost of doing business here in Arizona. How many graphic designers do they hire here in Arizona? None, right? How about website developers? Does Starbucks hire website developers here in Arizona? Okay, how about payroll service providers? How about accountants? How about attorneys, right? You get my point. It's a long list, and those are called secondary jobs, and they make the world go round. So when we think about the multiplier effect, you spend your money at the one retail location. What is the multiplier effect in your community? So on the right-hand side of the screen, you spend your money there. They hired 15 graphic designers, had a gig, 15 website developers had a client, 15 bookkeepers or accountants. That's how dollars move through the economy. And then you can have the third time the dollar moves through the economy when, say, the janitorial supply company keeps the offices of the accounting firm clean, and the accounting firm is only going to be there because local businesses hire them. So Arizona is a state that has a lot of chain locations, not the headquarters. So 49 other states. Starbucks does not hire graphic designers in 49 other states other than Washington State, right? So arguably, they could have 40,000 locations across the US and they're still only going to have one accounting firm. They're going to have one graphic designer, one website developer, etc. So my point in sharing this with you is the way we choose to spend our money actually directly impacts the outcome of how many jobs we have in our local community. So it's critically important that we understand this concept of the multiplier effect and understand that every dollar actually matters. For every 2 jobs we create, 3 local jobs will be lost if we create those local jobs at a big chain store. We know that for every 2 jobs a chain creates, 3 local jobs are actually lost in that ecosystem. And so if we look at dollars spent, if we look at dollars spent on Amazon, you know, I try to talk about this on college campuses and they want to chase me out with a stick because everyone loves Amazon. They've done an excellent job hiding their monopolistic tendencies, their abuse of power, their abuse of their workers, and their manipulation of their data to advantage themselves, all of which we have extensive laws against, right? But if I ask an audience, how does Walmart treat their employees? People will say, boo. How does Amazon treat their employees? People will say, pretty good, right? The reality is Amazon is far worse than Walmart. Now, if we spend 110 jobs at independent retailers, I'm sorry, if we spend $10 million at independent retailers, we will collectively create and sustain 110 jobs. If we take that 10 million and we spend it at chain retailers, we will create and sustain only 50 jobs. Well, we can turn and spend $10 million on Amazon and create and sustain only 14 jobs. Okay, so am I going to think that Amazon's going away tomorrow? No, but I am working very hard to break them up. They are violating antitrust laws and they need to be held accountable for that. So, and then we all need to understand how important it is to choose local businesses. Now, many of my colleagues around the country will say, oh, boo-hoo, you need to support locally owned businesses. They need us. And I say, forget that. We actually need them. Local economies don't run without commerce happening locally and without the multiplier effect and dollars moving through the economy. So this study, it's called Shift the Way You Shop or Shift 10%. We recognize we're not going to change everybody's behavior overnight. So we simply ask people to shift 10% of their spending from a national to a local company. And this study was done on a community about the size of Tucson, and it showed that if everyone in that community simply shifted 10% of their spending, it would create $130 million new dollars recirculating in that community and 1,600 brand new jobs just for a 10% shift. So that means getting a local oil change, replacing your car tires at a local shop. It means getting a local haircut. It means choosing, Pivot Produce, signing up for a CSA, something that is there in the local economy to replace or substitute what you used to do. So I'm just going to hit on this last thing because I'm running out of time here, which is how important it is also to bank locally. So that means putting your money in a local bank, a community bank, or a credit union. So when we started doing this work, on the left-hand column, you can see that our total deposits in non-local banks in Arizona was 96%. And that essentially means we said, y'all go ahead and take our money and invest it somewhere else. We're not worthy. That's what we collectively said. We put 96% of our money in very big banks that are not headquartered here, who've been proven time and time again to not lend back in our community. And when they do, it's very rarely, specifically not in small enough increments to benefit small local businesses. The total deposits just in Chase, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America were 76%. Okay. We have 8 counties now in Arizona that have no local banking option. And we only have 13 community banks left. Now, the state of Texas has over 500. Colorado has over 300. I mean, it is crazy that we live in this financial desert where access to capital is so hard. Now, you ask yourself, why do we have all these predatory lenders and check cashing places and all of that? We have that because it is painfully difficult for people to access capital in the state of Arizona. And it's up to us to move our money to local banks and credit unions. I submit that the closer capital is controlled to our communities, the more compassionate that capital will be. Now, why does this matter to Sustainable Tucson? Why is this important? it's important because people who don't know where their next meal is coming from are not thinking about the climate crisis. They don't have capacity. We need to work to make sure that our communities are resilient and people have an opportunity to participate in the economy before we can get them to move the needle on environmental sustainability. So I put Colorado up here just to give you a sense of how different the financial world is in Colorado. They have much more local capital control, much more opportunity to invest and reward those businesses that are responding to the climate crisis. And they're just more in control of how they want to grow their communities. So we run a campaign called Move Your Money. Every April, we remind folks and help folks move their money into a local bank or credit union. I'm proud to say that over the last several years, we've been able to move 9% of Arizona's money into local banks and credit unions. That is a big number, 9%. All right, so I'm going to skip these last bits. This is a glimpse, sorry, this is a little fuzzy. This is a glimpse into the different programs that we run at Local First Arizona. We run a Spanish language business accelerator program. Again, investing in entrepreneurs at every level is our strongest weapon to create an inclusive economy. We also do a lot of work around food entrepreneurs, running a commercial kitchen that develops all different sizes and shapes of food businesses. We run the Rural Development Council, so we work across the state in our rural communities. We also have a program that's focused on building a healthier food system for the state of Arizona. So that's just a high-level overview of some of these programs, and I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Kelly, who is going to drill down just into one of these verticals, our sustainability programs. So Kelly, take it away.
Kimber, this is strong medicine. I'm going to take time for 5 minutes of question and answer. We'll have a break for 5 minutes, then I'll come back for Kelly.
Great.
And thank you again for so many facts and ideas linked together with stories and real examples. I'll seed the questions. One person wants to know, may we have this slideshow?
Of course. Yeah, happy to share it.
Okay,
Absolutely.
great. You just send that to.
Well, I have a bigger ask. Can we have the video, the recording?
Oh, of this talk?
Yes, of
Yes,
you
it
were
is.
talking and presenting, and that was my ask.
We will
Not just
post it.
It'll be ready in the next day or two.
Is it okay, Kimber, for me to share with friends and family?
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
very-
Share away.
Cut to
spread the word.
chase. You're cutting to the bone. It's just so awesome. Thank
Oh,
you.
good. Yeah, you bet. And we have a directory. So if you're sharing it with friends and family and they think, well, they want to know more about what's local, we do have a directory with Kelly, I'm not sure the number, but in the neighborhood of 400 locally owned businesses in Tucson, something in that realm. Mm-hmm.
I just had a discussion. I won't say argument, but I was arguing against Amazon. So this is just so great. She's like, but I love Amazon. I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to send this. And
well,
anyway, thank you.
It's a common myth that people think they're an example of an upstanding, great American company, and that somehow we are anti-big, right? And they're breaking so many laws, and they are destroying the U.S. economy. If we leave them left unchecked, that is exactly what they will do. I mean, we created the wealthiest man that the world has ever known. We did that. We did it collectively. We did it in 10 years. That's how much we're addicted to convenience, or this notion of convenience. If you like to hit hard, I'll share with you my funny joke. And I ask people, how convenient will it be when your 35-year-old child never moves out because there's no jobs left? Like, how convenient. Let's measure convenient over the next 10 years and see how that goes for us, Anyway.
Let's see if there's any more questions. Just unmute, and we've got another couple of minutes.
I've got a question. Kimber, do you have dates for the ILSR study and the shift shift 10% and what the impact of that is. And before you answer, I'll just mention, many years ago, I realized from looking at an example of a book that I had edited that Amazon was undercutting not just bookstores, but the publisher in their pricing of that and many other books. And ever since then, I have never found any reason why I need to buy anything from Amazon.
Mhm. And you asked me for years, Paula?
Yeah. If you have the dates or around when they were done.
ILSR worked with the American Booksellers Association, and I believe that would have been in the neighborhood of 2005, maybe 2006. The Soul of the Community report was within the last 5 years from the Knight Foundation, I would say 4 to 5 years ago. And what was the other one?
The one that gave the results of what happens when you shift 10%.
The 10% shift came out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, about 2010, maybe 11.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, one more question. Well, we know we're not going to lose you, Kimber. You'll stick around while Kelly talks, won't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Beautiful. We're going to
I'm your
take,
biggest fan.
right. Well, that's great. We're going to pause the recording. We will take a 5-minute break. And so let's be back at 10:40 and see you then.
I will.
Yes. Our next speaker is Kelly Liska. Kelly's an AmeriCorps public ally who works on the local First Arizona sustainability team. As sustainability coordinator, Kelly supports the implementation of the Arizona Green Business Certification Program in Tucson and the Scale Up Project Planning Program. Kelly has a Bachelor's of Science from Arizona State University in Conservation, Biology, and Ecology, and is a Pima County Master Naturalist. Born and raised in Tucson, Kelly has a passion for supporting the diverse human and non-human communities that call the Sonoran Desert home. So I'll turn it over to Kelly.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's always hard to follow Kimber, but I am happy to go into more detail about, our programs and what's going on with, like Kimber said, just one of the pillars of LFA is environmental action or sustainability. So ready to go. So just in general, sorry for the overlap there, but you could see the kind of mission statement of sustainability mirrors the one for Local First as a whole. So our programs focus on both businesses and the community. So finding those solutions to lessen impact and empower citizens to play a role. It all has to do with resiliency and making Arizona more self-sufficient, everything that Kimber said. And you can learn more in general about just all of our sustainability goings on at localfirstaz.com/environmental-action, which you can just find on the main website linked. So I can jump right into our program. So right now we're running 2 really awesome programs for local businesses. The first is the Arizona Green Business Certification, which is a consulting and certification program, obviously, that delivers strategies to local businesses to reduce their impact, help them save money, of course, and also recognize like all these amazing actions that I think a lot of businesses might be taking, but haven't, shared with the public. So we really want to celebrate the diversity of local businesses and everything they have to offer when it comes to savings and sustainability. And so this program is available in Phoenix, Tempe, and Mesa, and starting on Monday will be available in Tucson as well. We had a different certification program going on in Tucson, but we have now unified the program so it's available to everybody in those areas, and we hope to also grow it further, of course. So the different pieces of the Arizona Green Business Certification, so all the benefits of participating, like I said, we market them, we promote them, recognizing their achievements going through the certification. And then we also, as they go through and make all these changes, or just check off what they're already doing, they can save money with the conservation forward and less wasteful practices, of course, growing loyalty with customers as they are in conversation with them about what a sustainable community looks like to them, and also sharing their successes with sustainability, and then also recognizing their leadership. And then overall through this process, we create a customized report that sort of shows like all the things that they have worked on and are doing awesome with, and then also opportunities for continuing to do more. Yeah, it's all kind of in one package of like, they can self-pace going down this checklist of items that include, waste, water, energy, but also we want to take a holistic view of sustainability. So it also includes community measures. So, paying employees a living wage, offering benefits, considering equity in their business practices. And then we also have a green business tracker directory with all of those certified businesses that, people can find what they need and know that they are certified and have kind of gone through the gauntlet of the program. They also get on the bottom, you can see an example of just a template of the certificate they get physically and digitally. So we give them some marketing materials as well. So how they sign up and go through this whole process is they can email us or just go directly to azgreenbiztracker.org. We reach out, have a consultation with them, talk about their goals. It's really just one-on-one. We want to tailor it as much as possible. And so just seeing what they need. And then as they go down the checklist, they can reach out to us at any time as well. Then we review that finalized checklist and verify all of those items with them. And then, like I mentioned, generating a report that talks about in detail all the things that they have been doing and where to go next. And then they're certified. So an example from up in Mesa, I believe, because we're just starting in Tucson. Hopefully we'll have more case studies to share soon from Tucson. You can see the different categories there. So general includes some community measures, like I mentioned, and Stardust Building Supplies is a really awesome company. So they deal with waste mitigation. So when deconstructing buildings, that can be a very wasteful process, as I'm sure a lot of you know, but they try to take it apart and reuse as much as possible, recycle, and try to eliminate waste. And so, just examples of other things that they've done. Some of them are smaller, some of them are really big. So just regularly scheduled HVAC maintenance. It can be really important for energy conservation, of course, recycling e-waste. And they really, just reuse everything that they possibly can. They have a no idling policy and make sure that the area is safe for their workers and for their customers. And then they also did a water audit through us, through our partnership with EcoBlue, which is a Tucson consulting company, but they went up there for that audit. So yeah, so that was the Green Business Certification. And then our other program, which is available in Phoenix and Tucson, is Scale Up. So Scale Up, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about, as Sustainable Tucson has gone through the program and planned a project with us. It's a 7-week program based on project planning. So focusing on cost savings, building resilience, as we've talked about, and community impact. So again, that holistic view of sustainability, not just, saving money and energy, but also, how can the community also benefit? So they learn a lot, go from education, and they work together during those 7 weeks on their project plans. And they have access to financing and consulting on implementation. So I can talk more about that too. And it's all in one package. So we kind of, through those 7 weeks, we go through different categories of different aspects of sustainability. So energy, water, waste, transportation, and then green teams and social impact as well. So all with the goal of enhancing customer and employee engagement. And yeah, you can see the excitement that some of these businesses have for what they get to do through this program. Just a little bit more detail through those 7 weeks. So we have the first week being an orientation, talking about what benchmarking is, how we go about benchmarking. Also just a little intro to environmental justice and resiliency and disaster planning. A lot of what Kimber talked about, we share as well as a basis for knowledge and how we're going to go about the program. And then, of course, we talk about water first, as a desert community. And we have experts, local experts for each of these weeks. So Damien Cox from EcoBlue heads up the water discussion. We have folks from ASU on the waste discussion. And then Mrs. Green from Mrs. Green's World here in Tucson talks about changing culture and the culture of sustainability. So yeah, it's a really great dynamic program where businesses can kind of talk about what is specific to them and how to go forward with these awesome leaders in our community. Yeah, and then they present their projects. And so for those projects, a business can kind of have, they can be at any level of planning for joining Scale Up. They can already kind of have a project plan that they want to work on, or they can just want to learn more about sustainability and do something about it and join and kind of decide what their project is through the process. But in any case, we ask that their objectives for that project include developing a plan that details what they want to change. So, what they have going on already. So their energy, water, waste, emissions, what they want to change, of course. So energy and water, maybe having more of an impact on, the local youth or whatever it is. And, those goals have to include a 20% or more reduction for, whatever it is that they would like to reduce. So at least water and waste, water and energy, sometimes waste, sometimes travel, pollution as well. And then we ask that it also considers social equity and environmental justice in some way. So, whether it's making sure that the stakeholders in the community are included in the conversation or the planning, expanding their services into different areas that could benefit from them, providing access to shade and good jobs, of course. And so it can kind of look however they want it to, as long as, it's not just some fake thing that you can go through and then be sustainable. You still have to, as a business, provide this benchmarking and this data. It's very data driven to show, the impact that they plan to make. So just a few more details. So I've said the word holistic a lot, but it is, we really try to look at sustainability from all these different lenses, right? So learning about actions they can take, from ranging from really easy things to, community work that's really hard, collaborating with the other businesses, and then also the entire green business network. Planning for their projects, of course, including that equity component, and also money savings often. And then, of course, having access to financial incentives. So we work with the Community Investment Corporation here in Tucson, and also Growth Partners AZ up in Phoenix. So they consult directly with the businesses. We also have a low interest revolving loan fund available for folks who, could really use that startup capital to get this project going. And it has, some of the best rates in the biz. And then, throughout this process, the first 7 weeks are kind of about learning, collaboration, planning, and then we have up to a year of support after those 7 weeks are over. So implementing, we are open for consultations. We work with them. We connect them to other resources. So implementing those projects, and then we also offer some discounts with partners for other consultations, for services like through EcoBlue, et cetera. And then, of course, we promote them. So we recognize this leadership that they're doing through their plan and their project, and work with them on what they want to share to the public and try to get the word out. And then, of course, all of this, I think, is part of rebuilding from COVID, from the climate catastrophe. So emphasizing equity and resiliency, sustainability, and as always, attracting customers and making your local business a great place to work for your employees as well.
Kelly, can I underscore one thing there?
Yeah.
I just want to underscore what you said. The connection between the Green Loan Fund, what we were talking about with the lack of access to capital. Imagine if you went through the entire scale-up program, you're a small business owner and you need $20,000 to replace all of the water fixtures in your restaurant. There is no bank that is going to give a business $20,000 to retrofit in this time. If you're running a restaurant, your last 3 years tax returns, I guarantee you are going to show a loss through COVID. So what we're doing is offering this, as Kelly mentioned, in partnership with Community Investment Corporation in the Tucson area, 1 to 3% interest, character-based lending, not based on your past performance, based on your projected cost savings. So our proposal is that you will actually be able to repay the money through the amount that you're saving, not because you can prove what you did 3 years ago or 2 years ago or even 1 year ago. So it's a change in the mindset. Again, this is the innovation that's needed in order to disrupt the financial system. So that component to this program is critical to moving the needle on sustainability. So thank you, Kelly. I just wanted to really underscore that. Yeah.
No, yeah, thank you. And then, the next few slides are just showing who have been through the program. So in 2018, I wasn't a part of it personally, but we did run a pilot program that was in person, remember. And that was with Community Food Bank, Borderlands, Popcycle, all Tucson businesses.
Yeah, we started our green business certification in the Phoenix area. We started Scale Up in Tucson, and now we're cross-pollinating and mixing the peanut butter and jelly.
It's delicious. Speaking of delicious, in cohort 1, the LFA Community Kitchen actually went through the program as well to reduce, with the goal of reducing waste. So some more background, cohort 1, we had the pilot program in 2018, and then in 2020, all virtual. We 2020 through 2021 ran 4 cohorts, and then now we are in the middle of a 6th. So we just finished up 5. So yeah, just more businesses who've gone through Ishkashida, Recyco, Steady Glow, and these are a mix of businesses from Phoenix and Tucson as well. Food Conspiracy Co-op, Hotel Congress, Thrive Consultancy, and then yeah, cohort 4 was really interesting because we had our first school. Well, we had a middle school actually in cohort 1 in Tucson, but our first college, junior college, and Visit Tucson, downtown Tempe, and then also we have some really important partnerships from this cohort. So the YWCA of Southern Arizona and Social Television Network we work with quite a bit now on other things, and promote what they have going on as well. So yeah, we're really trying to strengthen all of these relationships between the different businesses and nonprofits and us as well. So of those 4 cohorts, again, we just finished up a 5th one and are in the middle of a 6th one, but the first 4, there were 56 graduates. 35 of those were in Tucson, so Tucson is winning. 21 Phoenix. 33 of those were for-profit businesses and 23 of them were nonprofits. And then 1,280 Arizona employees impacted, so that's really awesome. And then almost 250,000 square feet covered, and all of those have of course increased with the last 2 cohorts. And then just one example from Tucson. We work with Harris Fletcher Enterprises quite a bit. They went through Scale Up. They also went through a hybrid program that I'll just mention in the next slide too. And we have promoted some of their events going on because their project has been very, very like holistic, again, my favorite word, holistic, looking at a lot of different issues from, kind of this lens of resiliency and sustainability. And support of their community. So the Urban Forest Project is a community whose goals are to address causes and provide solutions for food, financial, and housing insecurity. So that picture is of Randizia Fletcher and Harris, Herman Harris. And they are working in their garden, and they are disabled veterans who run affordable housing, and they want to make that, make their community as strong as possible and make it a great place to live, and an even more great place to live. So their goals are to provide economic development using sustainable housing infrastructures that they're working on planning for now, and also teaching methods to promote financial security. So food production, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, more. I know Randizia is an artist, so she has a lot of experience, and Herman too. So they're just kind of attacking this issue, several different issues from all different angles, and it's really awesome to see it go through Scale Up. And then, yeah, just this isn't like its own program per se, but we do want to be open to working with other partners on, possibly customizing our programs for the communities based on their needs. So this past summer, we worked with the YWCA of Southern Arizona, who I mentioned before, on their green business program. And we took a small cohort of 5 businesses through a bilingual educational session, and it was 13 weeks. So it was quite immersive, I guess. And we really got to know these businesses. And they went through a shortened, or not shortened, but like more foundational version of the checklist from the Arizona Green Business Certification, where, you know, we really cherry picked items that are really important, you know, to get a start on for being more sustainable. I have word salad going on in my head. Sorry about that. And then also they did a kind of version of scale up. So they were able to develop those ideas even more going through the certification. They got some ideas for what they wanted to work on, whether it was their food forest, like Herman and Randizia. We went out there and volunteered for them, or an herbalism school like Tyrell up there at Black Moss. Their business is all about Highwire, is implementing a like community sort of alleyway that's right now, it's kind of empty, but they want to put in rainwater harvesting and solar, and have it be like a place to gather. So just a bunch of different, you know, projects. So we supported planning on that through like a, you know, kind of hybridized version of Scale Up. And then we're continuing to support them again, like for that year after they graduated the program. So yeah, that's just yeah, the suite of kind of what we've been up to. And yeah, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Kelly. I see a hand up for Trace or Paula.
No, wasn't taken down.
Previous. Okay. So I'll see the questions. Kelly, are you an AmeriCorps person then? Is that how you got involved with LFA?
Yeah, so the program I'm in and about to finish, so I will have a permanent position with LFA. Thank you, Kimber, for hiring me.
We wouldn't have missed it. Are you kidding? You're a rock star. So yeah, she's full-time with Local First Arizona starting shortly.
Yeah, so the program I'm about to finish is Public Allies. And so it matches, you know, an AmeriCorps member with nonprofits all across Arizona. So
super. Well, Don here just wrote there, Kelly, thank you. This is very inspiring. And yeah, we got some thumbs up here. And Rocky calls it a dream job. Kim, it looks like you've got a question.
Yeah, you mentioned a few locally owned green businesses in Tucson, like Borderlands, Tucson Thrift Shops, Sonoran Glass, Pop Cycle, Food Conspiracy. Can you maybe give us a few more examples? And is that something, because this I think is something a lot of people are really interested in, is supporting local businesses, particularly green local businesses. You know, I mean, to kind of offset the Amazon kind of thinking, and, you know, where everybody's ordering everything online nowadays. And yeah, could you mention an easy place to find that? I don't think it's that easy to find it on the Arizona Local First website. Would you go to ArizonaGreenBizTracker.org if you wanted to know more about them?
Yeah, so we do have on our directory, so the LFA directory, you can search for businesses that are labeled, I think the label is green or sustainable. I think you can like search the keyword. And I'm pretty sure all of the green business certified, Arizona Green Business certified businesses will come up. And I believe Scale Up as well. And then we also put out blogs about the Scale Up graduates and what they're specifically doing with their projects. So I can link one of the latest ones, but Kelly, yeah, I can give more examples too.
One thing we could do as a follow-up for today is we could just put together, there's what, about 35 Tucson businesses that have gone through, Kelly, or is it more than that?
Scale Up?
Both, either or, Tucson businesses they could support.
Yeah. 35, and then plus the Green Leaders, which is our older certification. So like about 40.
Yeah, so we can just create a list of those businesses and share them out with the group if that would be the easiest thing to do.
That would be great. Yeah, you mentioned something about social television network. Could you talk a little bit more about what that is? I really believe that these type of things, the public needs to know more about this. A lot of people just don't know anything about this. And I think public service announcements and, you know, or something to really get that word out there would be very helpful. I don't know if that's something Social Television Network does, or if it could be a project with the local U of A media students or what, but I think we are underutilizing television as a method to really get the word out about a lot of things related to sustainability.
Definitely. Yeah. So Social Television Network is an independent news station, and they have an app that's free that you can download to watch their content on. And they just launched this year a new sustainability focused series called Project Greenprint. And then the latest episode, the blog about it, I just put in the chat, and you can download it from there and watch for free. And so we are partnered with them, and they talk to a lot of the actually local businesses that we have worked with and talk to them about their projects. So they have a theme for every episode, and we connect them if a local business is interested in being featured.
Thanks.
But yeah, you're right. Yeah, I would love to share the word and let people know more.
Thank you. It looks like Teresa Paula has a question now.
Yeah, I'm curious, both Kelly and Kimber. The companies that have gone through the scale-up process pretty much all seem to be either service or a retail type businesses. We're in desperate need, in my view, of being able to actually make stuff here that we need. Has there been any thought as to what else might be needed in order to start helping local manufacturers, particularly target local customers?
Yeah, I mean, what we've mostly been operating, I think, is connections that already exist. So we have worked with a lot of these businesses that I mentioned before Scale Up, and then they connect us with folks that they work with, and through word of mouth and through connections that we don't necessarily have to reforge. It's already a strong connection, and so yeah, I mean, I think developing that web of okay, you go through Scale Up, maybe you work on your supply chain and talk to who you work with, your business, farmer, whoever it is, processor, and see if they could be a part of our programs or work with them on a sustainability plan as well. So yeah, I think that is something that we have thought about, is like developing those webs of connections and not just focusing on what we already know, and growing the programs that way. So yeah,
I can also, Kelly,
yeah.
I can also just add to that, part of it is meeting the business where they're at, Trace. And so, for example, I know we reached out to A1 Mattress, and I believe they're called Santa Cruz Steel Fabricators. So we have done some direct outreach, but haven't had any takers yet, but that doesn't mean we'll give up. But yeah, I agree. We need a diverse array in there, but of course, just because we tap them doesn't mean they love us back. So we're going to get there. We're going to get there.
Something I've noticed about the local first and the attractiveness of some of your green business programs is that it's branding. And so I can understand why folks, retailers locally, the commercial sector might be more interested in some of those programs. I think if you were to do something for the manufacturing sector, it'd have to be something separate because their issues are very different from the commercial sector. And it would take, there you might be doing all day audits to help them identify, because their facilities are so unique in a lot of respects, and it's hard to transfer in technology from one facility to another, more sustainable technology. So I think you've got to be able to help a manufacturing sector. I think you got to be able to provide some pretty high level of technical assistance, coupled with perhaps helping with the financing. But when you're making changes at a manufacturing facility, you're talking potentially a lot of money that may not be that you got to think about how do you handle.
Agreed.
Some that can be done internally, as you
Mhm.
know, or corporation, especially if they're part of a larger corporate entity. But I also think smaller businesses, compared to manufacturers, they can act on stuff pretty quickly. They don't have the bureaucracy that a manufacturing plant has, and especially if it's answering to corporate headquarters. So I see the value why a lot of your programs would be more attractive to locally based commercial retailers.
Another one that is already very green that has not gone through our program, I just want to give them a shout out, is A&E Recycled Granite. They do a great job of being sustainable and have kept significant amount of tonnage of excess granite from developers installing countertops. They take all of that and turn it into useful things. So certainly not everyone on the list that we'll share out is the be all end all of who's sustainable in Tucson. Another one is what is Tasha's paint company? Forget what they're called.
Originate.
Tasha.
Originate.
Yes. There's another one. She's been being green for a really long time. She hasn't been through our program, which is fine. She could probably be one of our instructors. She's very knowledgeable.
These are great.
One of the things that needs to be thought of with manufacturing is how much small and local manufacturing there is. Kevin talked about companies that report to a larger corporate thing, and those are likely not going to be local businesses unless their headquarters is based in Phoenix. But the whole business of attending to who your supply chains are, I think, is really important for retail and small commercial to say, how much are we able to source locally for what we sell, for what we produce, et cetera, and really be able to encourage the local business focus down the chain.
Yep.
Yeah, and in the chat, just really quick, Cradle to Cradle is a really great book.
Maybe we should
also
buy
recommend.
every manufacturing CEO a copy of that book. That might be changed my life.
Great.
Stephen's got a question.
It's a question for maybe both of you, both Kimber and Kelly. I've been working on circular local economies from recycled materials. And the holdup I have is finding people who are willing to do the planning work and the technology development for the physical and chemical transformation of these materials. How could local first get involved in that early stage of things?
I have to ask a few clarifying questions first,
Sure.
Stephen. So for example, I just recently toured Ping golf clubs, and many people probably don't realize that Ping golf bags are made right here in Arizona, and all of the plastic is 100% recycled. They break it down and melt it and transform it and then mold it and then use it to assemble like the whole bottoms and the tops and all of that stuff for golf. Never mind the fact that golf is not sustainable in itself. Let's just not focus on that for a second. But you're talking about the company that would transform the chemical composition of that plastic in order to mold it into something else?
Actually, what I was more thinking of is breaking it down into components that would be completely reusable, and then making a product that would be sold locally
Got
and
it.
then brought right back and reused, or recycled in the same manner.
So the deconstruction of the golf bag, if you will, the fabric away from the plastic and reutilizing those pieces is, I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Yeah, because many of the materials that you have, especially the plastic ones, or even cardboard with a plastic lining or foil lining, they're very hard to deconstruct, but they're not impossible. And what I'm trying to find is people who are willing to do that first step and then find financing for them to do that. Yeah.
So now that I understand your question, it's not that it's hard to do it. It's hard to do it profitably, because it's such a time suck, right? So in my opinion, those are the types of things that our municipalities should be subsidizing, right? We should be working in partnership with companies to offset their costs, because the work that they're doing is necessary for us to move forward as a society. Clearly, we're nowhere near that. I don't know how Local First could be helpful, only because we've seen what's happened with cardboard, right? And how, I'll give you an example. At my record store, we used to save all of our cardboard for a family that collected the cardboard from all of our neighboring businesses and took it to sell it, to get paid for recycling, right? And they don't even come by anymore because there's not enough to be made for it to justify their time for collecting all of the cardboard. So the market is upside down from where it needs to be for entrepreneurs to move into that space. One of the things that I've seen that I thought was really innovative is here in Phoenix, they actually started a program with offices right at the dump. And the goal is to provide significant resources for companies that can come up with ways to reuse what is being dumped. So that could be like disassembling old furniture and pulling the parts, pulling the springs from the fabric, from the, the wood framing. I have not seen any of those companies scale yet, but I do think we're right on the forefront of that. And that doesn't necessarily answer your question, but it does point to the complexities of it. And I don't know what the answer, absent subsidy, is for driving a market around that.
Can I follow up real quick? I agree with you that for a lot of the small businesses, entrepreneurs, they're going to need some financial assistance, a grant or a low interest loan or what. And I think as a city works to develop a climate action and adaptation plan, and there's going to be there'll be a waste and a transportation component and so on, that they really need to think about how they're going to fund projects to help businesses, neighborhoods, and others become more climate friendly, I guess. And I think that as Local First interacts with the city, I'd hope you will say, I think city's got to be a player. Yeah. But that means they got to have a pot of money. Mm-hmm. And right now it's tough for cities to think about how they want, what programs they're going to fund. They're struggling. But I think there are ways to create a pot of money. And I think Tucson, if it really wants to get serious about climate change, the city should have some kind of a business assistance program to help with climate, waste, transportation. I mean, even helping a business buy e-bikes for their employees, something like that. But that means having a pot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Kimber,
to kind of,
we're on the way to closing. I want to just put a thought in about this last issue, and we may not be able to deal with it. Would it be even more upstream to go to state and or federal legislators to work on mandates of reusability, EPR, extended producer responsibility, those kinds of guidelines, so that people aren't producing these cardboard, aluminum, paper hybrids, what McDonough and Von Gart called monstrous hybrids, so that it actually, it's not only easy to deconstruct, but it would be profitable. Does that ring a bell for you, Kimber? Does that seem a worthy direction to go?
Absolutely. I absolutely it does. I also think we need to, elect people that are willing to prioritize the climate crisis, because they're the ones who are managing the budgets, right? The amount of money Arizona spends every day to incarcerate people for marijuana possession from 20 years ago could pay for programs like this tomorrow, right? So we have to ask ourselves, who are these people in office, and how are they selecting our priorities for us?
Thank you both. Oh, you want to
Stuart, do you have I wanted to know, see if Stephen in 2 minutes or less could share with Kimber and Kelly the survey he's working on for restaurants to gauge their interest in reusable takeout containers.
yeah, just real quick. We basically are trying to ascertain what local container usage in food establishments is, and if there is interest in making a commitment to a reusable system, and what would they think that would work for them. So we just did a very short survey. It's a preliminary first survey, and we're going to send that out probably this week. Kelly, actually, I'm going to send it to you as well, because some of your businesses might be interested in it. And then we're going to walk around 4th Avenue, a few other places with our little QR code to the survey, Rocky and I, and see how many people will just give us the info we need. The idea is that it gives us a starting point to ascertain not only interest, but to open up avenues for further education on what the issues are and what people could do about them.
Great. Stuart, Kevin, do you mind if I add 1 minute?
Please.
I have a quick story. So this is another intersection between sustainability and finance, and we don't normally think of this, but we had a gentleman who was manufacturing napkins. They were designed as, paper napkins to go. They were 100% post-consumer recycled material, and they were too expensive. I went around to 30 restaurants and they said, Kimber, we love you. We want to use these napkins, but we just can't justify it. They're more than 2.5 times the cost of a regular napkin, right? And so went back to the company, talked to him. He said, I know. I just need this new piece of equipment. I need $50,000 to buy that equipment. I could scale it. Can you go back to the restaurants and get, commitment letters? So I went back to 30 restaurants. They all committed to buying from this guy. He couldn't get the loan to buy the equipment, and today he is out of business entirely. So that really further underscores the need for capital in this space. And every single one of us is we've got to get our money into the places where our voices can be heard. And that's credit unions. They need to prioritize green lending and projects that don't fit the molds, right? I mean, the banker's not going to look at 3 letters of commitment. They want to look at his past performance. Well, what the hell are you looking in the rearview mirror for? I got 30 new clients committing to buying from this guy, right? We have to change the mindset of the bankers. So thank you.
Thank you both for this medicine of understanding about locality, sustainability, economic resiliency. I think I'll take this home with us. And how many people here have already thought of places they might patronize if they weren't going to before? All right, look at that. So that's impact, Kimber.
Great. And when you go to those businesses, please tell them you're there because of their green practices, because otherwise they don't know why you selected them. So
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for having us.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll
thank
be
you
in touch
all.
with you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
And when you do go to them, look to see if they have the Local First membership sticker on their door or window, and thank them for being Local First members.
Great point. And all this resonates with something I'll share with you at the end, which is be vocal, be active. Don't keep your thoughts or your intentions secret. And speaking of not keeping things secret, let's go back to that speaking exercise that we had. I'm hoping that Claudia had a chance also to compose something, although no pressure on anybody. We've got just a few minutes. How about without comments? If we could just have each of the other people who didn't have a chance yet. And Kevin, are you ready to deliver your piece?
Guess so.
All right.
We're sending way too much waste to landfills and incinerators, and we're not using resources. We're using resources in the world at an unsustainable pace. Recycling is not going to solve this waste crisis, and it's growing and growing. So we're going to have to sort of change the focus, change the paradigm. Hate to use this paradigm shift thing, but we're going to have to change our focus away from waste management and to waste reduction, and doing more zero waste activities like more smart consumption, sustainable consumption, reuse, repair, repurpose. Even before we get to the recycling component, we need to really focus upstream in the kinds of activities we need to do to prevent waste in the first place. So it's going to take a lot of effort, and it's going to have to be effort that we do as individuals, changes that we can make to maybe switch to more reusable containers, shopping locally, and but it's also going to require the businesses to make changes in using more recycled content, paper or plastics, coming up with alternative product delivery systems, like reusable containers and refillable containers. And we're going to need our community, our local elected officials, to put programs and policies in place to support more zero waste activities. That's going to be absolutely critical to do. But I think as we implement more zero waste programs and policies, we're going to find that it's going to help us address some of our climate impacts, our resource depletion problems, and also hopefully help us address some equity issues at the local level.
Wow, thank you, Kevin. Rocky, do you happen to be ready to share yours? And then I would ask Nancy after Rocky.
Yeah, so similarly, I also care about zero waste and reducing. So I chose I would like to advocate for reducing the use and production of single-use plastic. So as we are all familiar with, plastic has far-reaching negative effects on the environment, such as polluting the ocean, remaining in the environment for hundreds of years, and making its way back into our own bodies. There are many actions we can take in our own lives to reduce the use of plastic, such as creating and using refill stations and reusable container programs and adopting a zero waste lifestyle. I would want elected officials to support the Breakthrough from Plastic movement and pass bills that help create an impetus for reducing plastics, such as stopping plastic bag usage. Finally, I would want companies to reduce their packaging and supply lines to eliminate plastic from their products. We will all benefit from beautifying our environment, increasing our health by not letting so much plastic make its way into our bodies, reducing fossil fuels emissions that come from creating plastic, and helping wildlife live with this trash in their space.
Always refreshing to hear the benefits. Thank you, Rocky. Nancy, and then after Nancy, could Claudia be ready?
Okay. Gosh. I am proposing, well, let me just say that I believe that the current economic model that is founded on unbridled growth and destruction of the earth is not working. And I propose that we all shift to a different type of economy, one of repair and recycling, which is an economy that will benefit all creatures on earth. Why would you want to do this? You can have everything you need. You can spend your money helping others instead of, so the current economy benefits the 1%. It doesn't benefit our local economies. So I have adopted as close as I can to a fairly zero waste lifestyle, and I find it very rewarding. I find it very fun. It helps me connect with my community. I know that I'm spending money that is helping other people. And I believe that it engages my adventurous and artistic self, figuring out how to resolve issues in my life, of things I need, of where do I need to go. It's a very creative endeavor that I highly recommend. It's fun, it makes you feel good, and it's creative, and it's problem solving. And I think that's one thing I really love about it. Thinking outside the box, and how can I find what I need in other streams. So recycling, repairing, sharing. So I highly recommend it. Give it a try. It's very easy.
Said with a smile. You may have heard the Chinese proverb, person without a smile should not open shop. So thank you. After Claudia, Paula, would you be ready?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, Claudia.
A topic that I would like to advocate is clean energy or renewable energy. And with clean energy, we can reduce our dependency on fossil fuel and create a positive impact to climate change. As a community, we can advocate clean energy by engaging our elected officials to support green energy related regulations. For example, by petitioning and lobbying, we can send our message and our needs to our officials. And as an individual, we can make an impact by purchasing renewable or green energy sources from an electric utility through a green marketing programs. And through all these actions, our generation of energy will produce no greenhouse gas emissions from fossil fuel and reduce some type of air pollution. And our efforts will build a greener environment for our future generations.
Thank you, Claudia. How did that feel?
I think it could be better if I have more time to research on, like some sort of green energy related regulation. I think it could make it stronger for others to know that there is this regulations related to green energy, and kind of talk about more to have people more informed.
So a little more evidence to back up your assertions if you have the time for it. How did it feel just to deliver?
I feel strong.
All right.
It's power.
All right. Thank you for that strength. I think we have now Paula and then Anne.
Okay, well, I would like to talk about the urgent need for repair and rehabilitation of our existing homes here in Tucson. Tucson has thousands of homes from before the time of building code regulations. So they are old enough that their main infrastructures are falling apart, pipes and electrical, and in particular, they are energy sieves because of the way that they were built and not particularly insulated. But more importantly, these are really vital residences for the homeowners, particularly many elderly and low-income residents, and they're core to their community. So I'd like to recommend that the city develop an extensive program to identify the homes that are in need of this kind of work, promoting the jobs for repair persons, rehab companies, all skilled tradespeople, and remodelers, also while identifying funding sources to pay for the work at low interest rates, because that's all that's going to be possible for most of the homeowners. There are a lot of benefits to the community and to the homeowners. It'll reduce carbon emissions, which are really high from buildings, particularly ones with such poor systems and low insulation. It helps people maintain their ownership, which is also really important as they get older and want to stay in their own homes. So it increases safety for the residents and lowers their bills in particular, and a particularly important factor. And it also promotes neighborhood stability, which is good for not just the communities, but all of Tucson. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Paula. You make me mindful of a request I'll make to everybody, which is if you would be willing to send to me what you wrote, and you can revise it before you send it if you wish. But with your permission, I might take one or two of them to go into the training manual, and certainly could send them up to everybody so we can see what people's thoughts were. Okay, and I think you're the last one.
Yes, well, you must know that I love to have the last word.
Oh.
So based on everything I have heard this evening and everything that I have learned since Sustainable Tucson came into my awareness, I would like to advocate that the Sustainable Tucson, the greater community, not all of us that we have met in the last 14 weeks, but everybody that's involved in sustainability. We spearhead a multi-ally, multi-pronged ecosystemic approach to creating that network of viable, self-regulating communities that Trey spoke about at the very beginning and that Paula has just mentioned. And how to do that? Well, I think we will focus on the low-income neighborhoods. We should start with them. And by choosing a neighborhood and starting a pilot program to implement retrofit the houses, dig the gardens, plant the trees, everything that we have been talking about. And then, look at the experience, see what worked well, what didn't work well, and move on to all the other neighborhoods. And why do I think this is important? It's because there will be visible, sustainable results, both economically and socially. But most importantly for me, is I think that we will occupy a zero-sum game space in the culture of Tucson, which is very much dominated by a non-zero-sum game. What did I say? Zero-sum game? A non-zero-sum game based on my experience last week with Sandy Barr. What a zero-sum game culture we had, we have to deal with. We would fill this space with non-zero-sum game behaviors. The behavior change will spread, and then there's no going back. If we can change behaviors in a sustainable way, then I think we will have done a good job. And the community is already there. You have a path to build on. I'm a newcomer to the community, but that's what I would like to advocate for.
Wow, thank you, Anne.
That's all.
It's a call for us to do something with what we've learned. And I think a lot of us are already in that direction. And if we follow up with Kathleen Kennedy, that'll be a great way to really expand that. The circle and engage in these community visioning and action progress projects. So we have just a few minutes of open comment, reflection, anything you'd like to say about what you just heard or what you remember from the first week.
Stuart, is this the last program we don't have a separate wrap-up event of any kind?
Well, that's a good question. We originally, when Sharia and Kevin and I talked about this, we thought it would be nice to have some in-person thing, maybe, if COVID allowing. And we just let that get tucked to the side with everything else that came to fill the space. What are your thoughts or wishes?
Well, I think there's two really important benefits of something, and one would be just strengthening the connections between us, and the other is to talk more about some of these ideas about what we want to actually implement. So both would be valuable.
Let's hear from some others on that idea.
I like the walks. I think that's a nice way, when you're moving, your brain likes it too. But I think we're spread all over, so that makes it a little hard. But I'd be interested in some kind of ongoing activities.
Well, we have on November 17, that's this Wednesday, there is a 5 o'clock meeting at the Sabino Canyon. I'm curious how many folks might actually come to that. Let's just see. Okay, not very many. Wait, 1 or 2 of us, 4, maybe 5.
Yeah, it's like an hour for me. It's pretty far.
It's a long way, just an hour to get there?
Yeah.
That's a long way. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got several of us. So that'll be a good event. It won't be our all-together convening. It sounds like a central all-together convening could be very nice. Danya is saying maybe just another Zoom networking follow-up, still using the convenience of we don't have to get in our car or on the bus or bike, and just have a conversation dedicated. Okay, how are we going to follow through on all this stuff?
I support that idea. I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
I think
especially I'll probably still be in Paris, so it suits me fine.
All right. Okay.
I think we should take Anne up on her offer to plan a meal for us. Not that you do all the cooking, but we could do a potluck but right, with COVID, everything's.
When I get back to Tucson, yes, but I have shared with a couple of people here. I have a health issue at the moment that is keeping me in Paris. It's being taken care of, and it will be taken care of, but I'm not sure when I can get on a plane and go home yet. So that's all that's all I need to say right now. That's why I'm not back yet. But yes, as soon as I get back, we will have a great meal in my backyard.
Okay, so a few people have said that the Zoom meeting could be a good time. Okay, Rocky suggested even breakout rooms.
Yes.
Okay, so a little more agile use of the technology, or the more articulated use of technology would be good. Okay, yeah, someone said more convenient, very much so. Okay, so let's say we do that. And when would that be? Is that going to be in December, or do we wait till the new year after we've gotten past the holidays?
Maybe in December, a couple of weeks to let ideas settle in our heads, but no, strike when the iron is, while we're still fresh.
Okay. Yes, for those of you, if anyone has taught, you probably know that if you're teaching a series, that the best time to plan the next session is right after the one you just finished. Everything's there in your mind. Okay, not at 9 a.m. on Saturday. That's right now. Okay, how about 10 a.m. on Saturday? Or how about a Saturday afternoon? What do people think?
Both of those are better, yeah.
Okay. Kevin, you have any sense about that?
I would vote for the morning over an afternoon,
Okay.
especially if we're talking about Saturday.
Okay, and we've got Danye who says Saturday afternoons would be preferred. Okay, we got mornings. Uh-oh, gee. Danye, I hate to do this. So far, we're getting mornings. Oh, you could do morning. Ah, good. Okay,
That's all I can do at the moment while
that's
I'm
right.
repairing.
Because
It'd be
you're
too late.
10
so,
a.m. Just like 10 a.m. is good.
Oh, 10 a.m. would be fine.
Yeah, let's
okay.
do 10 a.m.
Okay, now I'm going to throw one more thing in the mix. I've been in conversation with Rocky and some other people about some more communication work, and in particular, how to do effective meetings. That's a whole subject in itself. And in fact, I'm proposing to the board that we require all committee chairs to attend a workshop on effective meetings. So that may come up on a Saturday morning, who knows when. But this sounds more present and more likely to come off. So would we just say December 4th?
That's fine.
Okay.
Can I just voice another, just a little bit of input? I'd
Yeah.
actually love to do it next Saturday, while things are just fresher in our minds. And I also love the idea of connecting with the first cohort, but not yet. I kind of just feel like we need a wrap up for our group. And then I'd love to have another one that involved other cohorts together as well. That's just my input.
We have next Saturday in the afternoon this mindful activism workshop, which I've been
Okay.
telling everybody about. I have to tell you that 2 people have signed up. It's one of the most amazing things. And
What time is it again in the afternoon? I think it's too late for me.
yes, 2:30 to 5 p.m.
Yeah.
And I told the presenter, I said, we can do this another time, if we don't get enough. We were hoping for at least 8 people to have a, what do you call it? A critical threshold, critical mass. So November 20 in the morning? Yes, that's right. Danya says maybe 2 weeks. That's the Saturday of Thanksgiving. Is that going to be a problem? Yes, no. Some say yes, some say no.
No, not for me.
Okay, Kim says yes, it would be. Okay. We will tell you what, by Wednesday, we will know whether that second workshop is going to happen. Why don't we pencil in next Saturday morning for a 2-hour session on follow through on all these great ideas. So November 20th, 10 a.m. to noon, but hold December 4 as a plan B. I'm going to put into the chat box, Jessica asked about the readings that I said were in our library while we were just somewhere done writing. And of course, there's no library to reach, but I just put in the titles that I mentioned.
Is anyone going to the Repair Cafe today? Beside me and Kevin and
We're gonna show up.
Steven?
I'm interested, but I didn't sign up yet. Is it still possible to sign up to
Yeah,
have
it's
something
still
prepared?
possible. There are still tickets, and I think at this point you could just come. It's all right. You don't have to sign up.
Okay.
I will take a rain check for first thing I'll do when I get back to. I think it's such a wonderful idea.
It's
and it's exactly what I want to learn how to repair.
just a couple-hour flight, and you can make it.
I will be there. I will be there.
Can you post the flyer again, Rocky? Is it possible to put that in the chat?
Is it possible?
Or maybe I can just find it by email.
How about the Eventbrite?
Put it in.
Yeah. How many people have used Eventbrite before? Anybody?
Yes.
Yeah. So you just go on there and look up Repair Cafe, and there are free tickets there. Then we'll get a notification that you're coming.
I totally have a screenshot of it here. Does this work? There's a flyer.
Yeah. Okay. So this may come up again next week or whichever Saturday we have our session. I just wanted you to know that on Tuesday evening, we had a session with 4 civic employees. One was Irene Ogata, Tucson water and landscape architect. Natalie Shep, doing outreach for the County Department of Environmental Quality. Nicole Gillette, our urban forest manager for the city of Tucson. And Samantha Neville, she's a college graduate who is now District 5A to Adelita Grijalva. And they each got to answer some fun questions. The last one was, how can we help? And Irene said, stay in contact with each other. Keep reminding government officials to change. Don't let them forget what they agreed to do. Natalie said, help your fellow citizens, follow our county. We post activities that we have. If you participate, you're doing your part. Nicole said, get out and start doing stuff. If you don't have direct contact with your ward office or district office, reach out. We're hearing a continuing theme here. Samantha Neville said, connect with your superintendent, your supervisor, and city council person. Come to our office. Sign up so you can know when we do community cleanups. Let us know about events we can be part of. Help us in quarterly updates of our strategic plan. So she's giving a range of possibilities. Come to a community cleanup or sit down with our planners and help us revise our strategic plan. Apparently every quarter they update it, and environmental sustainability is one of the 4 key elements of their strategic plan. I'll be talking with Samantha next week. If you'd like to be in on that conversation, just let me know. These are just some of the possibilities.
Stuart?
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that one of the speakers said, keep in touch with your ward offices.
Yes.
And I'd like to mention that not everyone lives within city boundaries. So keep up, and even if you do, you have district supervisors, and you should know who your supervisor is and keep up with what's going on, or keep in contact with that office as well.
Thank you, Paul.
I want to follow up real quick, but remember we had a representative from the Pima County Sustainability Office. Pima County has a sustainability office. Tucson doesn't have a sustainability office. Pima County has a sustainability plan. Tucson doesn't have a sustainability plan, but they're working on a climate action plan. But I would, our speaker mentioned that what Pima County could use is a citizen sustainability advisory group that could help provide recommendations and guide and support more sustainability activities at the county level. So I'll just put that out there when we reconvene, something to think about. Do we, that could be a potential initiative, is to convince the county to set up a stakeholder advisory committee.
So we close with the next chapter yet to be written. It's been, for me personally, exciting to hear all the speakers who have come and to see your responses, whether it's starting a repair cafe or joining a committee to work on climate advocacy, or starting to envision with Trace and others the resilience of our neighborhoods. And there's a great potential in this group. Jessica's volunteering Saturdays at Sun Hill Year. Great, so let's make sure we don't miss that opportunity if you're looking for something fun. And especially if you're doing a lot of policy stuff, there's always time to go out and pull weeds or dig in the earth or help build a new trail. It's such a great change of pace to be out there on the land. As one of our members said, saying your prayers with your hands in the earth.